Yo guys, it's JJ here. Welcome to another episode of how to make an inventory system in Unity 5. So in this episode, we're going to be fixing some bugs about the scroll bar here. So you know how when you pick up an item, you go down and you go back up and it like picks up the background and it starts scrolling for you. So we don't want that. We want to fix that today. There's an easy way to do it, but we really need to do it in code because this way is not good enough. It will disable certain things that we want enabled. So just by going into scroll mask and going into vertical and clicking that off, you can just pick up the items, just go down and up, and it won't pick up the background. But you also won't be able to scroll down. If you want to grab an item and you want to go down to the lower slots and drop it, you won't be able to. So to fix that, we need to do it in code. So also you'll notice that your scroll wheel on your mouse is not enabled. It won't work. It won't move this scroll bar here. So the only way really to go down is to move the scroll bar and then drag it, and we really don't want that. We want to enable it. So the way to fix that is we're actually going to go into the scroll bar here and we're going to add 3 new items. So create empty, another one, create empty, and create empty. So the first one we're going to name is scroll up, and the second one is going to be called scroll down, and the third one we're just going to call this scroll wheel. There we go. So we need to go into the scene here and take the scroll up, drag it over to the top left here, right there, and just gonna drag it. Just make sure it doesn't overlap onto the scroll bar here. So we're just gonna make it thinner, about 24 to 25 here. I'm gonna make this actually 26. 26. There we go. And just make sure it's connected. There we go. So now we'll do the same thing with the scroll down. We're just gonna actually do it at the bottom. So same thing, and make sure it's like about 26 here. So actually I'm gonna make it a little bigger just so that we have a broader area that you can hover over. So 28 is probably good, and same for this, so 28. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we're actually gonna add components to these. The first one's gonna be a physics box collider. We're gonna make this size the same size as the width and height here. So 570 by 28. And then the Z direction, we're just gonna make that like 3 or something like that. And we're gonna do that for both of these. So 577 and 28. And the same for the 3. There we go. Whoa. Okay, so something went wacky there. So this went a little wacky. Okay, I'm just gonna reset this. For some reason that went a little wacky. I don't know why. It usually doesn't do that, so we're just gonna reset that to 570 by, what was it, 28, and do the same for the box collider. Make sure to drag it to its position. So 570 by 28, and don't forget the 3, or else you won't be able to click on it. Or hover over it, I should say. So now we're actually gonna just go and make sure this is like it is. It should be fine. So we're just gonna go over for these two. We're gonna have one code. So one C# script. So down here, just a new script. We're gonna call this scroll scroll collider. There we go. And then just go to the scroll down and add the same component. So there we go, into scripts, scroll collider. And for the scroll wheel, we're going to have a separate script. This one's just going to be called what it is, scroll wheel. There you go. And make sure to go into your assets before you do anything, before you open the scripts. Make sure you just drag these both into the scripts folder, or else the monodevelop will think they escaped, they like changed folders, which they did actually. So it won't read them, or you won't be able to edit them. So just make sure you open these. There we go. So in the scroll collider, we do not need this update function. I'm just gonna get rid of that. We don't need this either. Okay, so we're gonna start by going up to the directories out here and add another one using Unity engine.ui. That's good. So now we're going to add a couple of variables. So the first one's going to be a public float, and it's going to be called scroll, and with a lowercase s, scroll amount. And we're just going to make this a default of like 0.055. I found that's a pretty good range for you to have. So now we're gonna add another public float. So float, and this one's gonna be called scroll roll weight. I'm gonna make this set to 0.5. That's 0.5 seconds, so half a second. And now we're gonna reference the inventory controller. So public, actually this is gonna be private, so private inventory controller, and inventory controller. There we go. Now we're gonna set two booleans. So private, make sure you set these both to private. They don't need to be public, so that's why we're just setting them private. So boolean, and this one's gonna be called timer on. And we're gonna actually set this to true as a default. There we go. And now another private boolean. If I can type private. There we go. Boolean. And this one's gonna be called weight. And set this to true as a default too. Okay, so now that we got all our variables here, so in the start we're just gonna go and reference the inventory controller. So inventory controller, lowercase, equals game object dot get find object of type inventory controller with a capital I, and that should be all set. So now we can go and add a couple of functions. So the first one's going to be a void on mouse enter. Oh. And the second is going to be void on mouse over. And the third is going to be void on mouse exit. Alright, now that we got our three variables here, or three functions, I should say. So the on mouse enter, we're actually going to start a coroutine. It's not something we've done before. So for the first thing we're going to do is set timer to equal to true. And the second thing we're going to do is we're just going to start coroutine. And this coroutine, it basically allows us to use certain methods that we weren't allowed to use regularly in a void function. So this is actually, I'm going to just reference time here. Time. Okay, so we actually need to make that function. So over here, this is going to be called what it is. It's going to be called a IEnumerator. It's a different type of function. So as I said, time before. That's a name right that we're referencing right here. So, and now what we're going to do in here is we're going to be typing yield return new wait for seconds. And how long is it going to wait? It's going to wait for scroll wait. So scroll wait. There we go. So after it's waited for half a second, we're going to do what? We're going to do an if statement. So if the timer on is equal to, actually we don't even need to put that, just if timer on, it automatically assumes that it's true. If we don't put equal to true, it automatically assumes equal to true. If we put it like this, it would be if timer on equals false, but we want to make sure it equals true. So if it equals true, we're going to run this. We're going to actually say the wait is equal to false. There we go. And now what we're doing is we're setting this boolean right here set to false after he checked to make sure this timer on is still equal to true. So we're setting it to equal to true before we start this coroutine right here to wait for that 0.5 seconds. But let's say we hover over the collider. So we're on it right now. We set the timer to true, and then we start the coroutine. And say we hover off within that 0.5 seconds, it will still, if we didn't, okay, so then it checks if the timer's on. So once we exit, we're actually going to set the timer to false. So this won't be true. It won't allow the on mouse over function to run if the scroll wait equals, if it already went through the time. So basically what that means is, say we hover over the scroll wait, say we hover over this with the object, hover over it, and we're all the way scrolled down, and we're scrolling up, we're waiting for 0.5 seconds. But say we hover off before the 0.5 seconds gets reached. We don't want it to start scrolling, we want it to stop. We want to reset the time, because if we don't reset the time, we can hover over this for just a millisecond and it will start scrolling. It won't wait for the 0.5 seconds to start scrolling again. So that's what this does. This basically resets it every time we exit, which is good. That's what we want to do. So before you do anything else, make sure you go to on mouse exit and say this. Say timer equals false. And then we're going to say the wait is equal to true, because we need to reset the time right here too. So after we do that, this is all we need this for. So on the on mouse over is where we're going to put all the other stuff. So in here, what are we going to check? We're going to first check we're going to first check the name before we check anything else. So if the scroll, if this dot transform dot name is equal to the scroll up. Just make sure this is the same. So scroll up. So it should be capital S, capital U, which is good. That's what it is. Okay, if it's equals that, then we're gonna check another if. So if the wait there we go, if the weight equals false is what this is saying, then we're going to do another if, and this one's going to be inventory controller dot can grab is equal to false, actually equals to true. So if you if we are carrying an object, if we're grabbing an object is what that is. If can grab is equal to true, then we're grabbing an object. If we're grabbing an object, then we'll allow this to run. If we're not holding an object, we won't be able to like hover over this with our mouse, and it won't run. So that's what we want to do. We want to only run it if we have an object. So if it equals to true, then we're gonna do transform dot parent dot get component, and this is going to be called scroll bar, and parentheses dot value plus equals to the scroll amount. So plus equals just basically adds scroll amount to its current value. That's what plus equals means. You could do it this another way. If this didn't work for some reason, if plus equals wasn't allowed to be used with this transform parent dot get component, we could basically do equals like this way here, equals, and then we just copy this whole thing again. So copy this. It's just a longer way to do it, so copy that. This is basically what this is saying. So it equals to this value plus scroll amount. That's all the plus equals is doing. It's just equaling to this amount plus the scroll amount. Certain methods won't allow you to do plus equals. I don't know why. They just don't. So for this one, it should work. I don't know if the minus equals will work, but I know that the plus equals work. So after this, we need to go down and add another. So we're just gonna copy this whole thing. Actually, copy this. Yeah, copy this whole thing, and just do else paste. So if this is scrolled down, we're gonna go down here, and all we need to do is change this plus to a minus. So minus equals, so this decreases this amount if it's equal. So after this actually should work. This should be fine right now as it is. Okay, so let's see, we got an error here. So add suffix f2 literal, so that means that one of these, okay, so even though we're declaring it as a float, we still need to go to the end of it and type an f, because we're making a current amount, a default amount. We still need to add the f just to make sure it's a float. I don't know why. I mean, we're already saying it's a float right here, but we still need to add the f just to declare it as a float for some reason. So that should be all the errors. Okay, so current entry, let's see. Okay, so that is all the errors. I don't know why those other errors are there. So let's see. So now when we grab it and hover over here, okay, it should be moving. Okay. So there's something wrong. Let's see. So scroll down. Maybe make it a bit bigger. And then just change the collider. Actually, just change this to 39. Let's see if that fixes it. Okay, so I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna actually try this. So it shouldn't have stopped. So one of the reasons for that, it might be because it's not allowed to use the plus equals or negative equals. So we're going to try this. So we're going to try equals this current value, copy, and then paste it. We're actually going to add another line here, so paste that, just so it doesn't like go crazy. So paste that, and then plus. Let's see if this works. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So equals, and this, copy that, paste that over there, minus actually. Okay. So let's save that and see if this works. Okay, so assign inconditional. Oh, I didn't get to read it. So let's see. Okay, so for some reason, okay, I think I know what it is. So we got the scroll bar back here, but the size is 3. I think the size is actually interacting with the inventory or one of the colliders here. So a certain collider, something that has a collider on it. Maybe it's the slots? No. So these are set to 3. Okay, so the slots themselves are set to 3. So we actually need to set the scroll bar sliders up 1. So we'll set this to 4. And just enter. Because the collider is actually messing with the current slot. So we might be able to actually change the code back. So let's see. Let's see if it works. Drag it. There we go. Yeah, it works. There we go. And it's so smooth. So after that, we're going to actually try and change the code back. So just Control Z. There we go. And just save that. Now let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, so there was something right there that says equals. Okay, so this does work. And I'm going to see what error I get when I play it. Okay, so I'm not getting the error anymore. Maybe I need to change something and then change it back and then save it again. We might get the error. Let's see. Maybe I have to play it. Nope, we don't get the error. Okay, so I think it was talking about this right here, this equals, because it said double equals. So we might have to change this. I don't know. I don't think so. This should be fine for now. It's not a major error, so it should be fine. It's all working. Okay, so go up here. There we go. And then okay, so now we need to fix the ability so we can scroll. Also, the drag, we're gonna re-enable that. So we're gonna disable it when we click on an object, when we can grab it. So right here, after the can grab equals true, we're gonna set the, okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna do game object dot find object of type what? The object is called scroll mask. So scroll mask. Actually, find object. Just find. Dot find. And this is just going to give us a string that we put the name of the object. So it's going to be called slots mask. It's going to find that object. Then it's going to return the component, get component, and the component is what? Scroll rect, I believe. Scroll rect. And we're going to set the vertical, actually, parentheses first, dot vertical equals false. That should be good. And then at the end of it, we're just going to copy this and go down to here on mouse exit and re-enable it. So false equals true. Actually, this can't be enabled here because we have no way to re-enable it. So we're just going to actually delete this both. We're actually going to do this and save that and do this in the inventory controller. So once we grab it, so once this can grab equals true, select that end position equals that, so paste it here. And then at the end, after can grab equals false, I'm going to set this down here and make it equal true. There we go. So that should be good. So after we find that, let's see if this works. So we're going to set the scroll mask. Okay, so conditional expression is always constant. Did you mean to use equals instead of equal? Okay, so that is in the slot collider. So where did I put an equals? So if inventory controller can grab. Oh, okay. So that was an error that we need to fix. So save that. So this is checking to make sure it's equal to true instead of setting it equal to true. So yeah, we would have done it anyway, either way. So we wouldn't have to grab an object to. Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Okay, so we set it back to what it should be. That should be all the errors. That's good. Okay, now let's see if the scroll mask. Going to set this back to true. So once we play, it should still be true. And once we grab an object, it disables it, which is good. We let go and re-enables it. So we can still grab. We can still scroll down and up and down. And we can still drag, which is good. That's good. So we can't. One thing we can't do is we can't scroll while we have the object, which I don't know why we would anyways. So we actually really don't need this scroll wheel right here because we found a way around it. So we'll just delete this and go into the project. Down where's the scroll wheel? Delete that because that's just extra code it's rendering that will go on top of the scroll wheels, because we don't really, who's going to use their scroll wheel while they're grabbing an object? It's just it's a little weird, awkward to do that. So I don't know. If you guys prefer it, then just let me know in the comment section. I might do a short tutorial on that. Also, post a comment letting me know what tutorials you guys want to see. Something you don't know how to do. If you're getting stuck on something, post a comment. I'll be sure to help you guys. So also leave a like, subscribe if you're not, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, guys.